Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys. Wednesday, May 27th. Ian Cameron with you. Alex is in the chat, and we are going to be breaking down Game 4 of the NHL Eastern Conference Final tonight. It's a really big swing game in the series, obviously. Carolina could take a commanding 3-1 series lead, or Montreal can tie it up and turn it into a best-of-3 going to Game 5 in Raleigh, North Carolina, Friday night. So a big Game 4 tonight in the Eastern Conference Final, and whoever comes out of the East, their opponent, we now know who it will be from the West in the Stanley Cup Final, they could be waiting a while because the Vegas Golden Knights finished off the Colorado Avalanche in a 4-game sweep last night, getting the job done. Not easy. You know, you give Colorado credit. They did battle right till the end, but the Vegas Golden Knights prevailed 2-1. It was not a profitable game, unfortunately. Neither were many of the live bets we placed during the betcast, but the betcast was still very much enjoyable. Always fun to hang out with our great viewers and listeners and our Patreon members. Last night on the betcast for Game 4 of the Western Conference Final, Vegas got the early first goal from Mark Stone to make it 1-0, and they really did not give Colorado a whole lot. I think a product too is that Colorado, with all the injuries, they can't really, they're trying to push it 100%, and exert every ounce they can, but you don't just have that skating stride. And I think you saw that with Makar. I mean, you saw Makar shoot the puck last night, and he was shaking his, hand and his wrist, after shooting the puck during the game last night. And Nathan MacKinnon certainly was noticeably lacking the burst that we normally see from him when he's skating up and down the ice. So there's no doubt they were a beleaguered, injury-riddled mess. But that doesn't take anything away from what Vegas has done. They were the better team. They were outstanding. They were impeccable defensively. And really, their depth forwards, they got more from them than Colorado got from theirs. The blue line 1 through 6 was better for the Golden Knights than it was for the Avs. Really, what defenseman didn't play a good series for Vegas? I mean, everybody had a tremendous series for the most part. Shea Theodore, great. Hannafin, great. Anderson, great. Dylan Coghlan, phenomenal considering he's just a depth defenseman. He had a great series. John Tortorella couldn't stop talking about how great, Dylan Coghlan's been for them. Caden Korzak, depth defenseman. You got foot soldiers like Keegan Colasar scoring a goal a couple games ago in Game 3, the big tying goal of that Game 3 comeback. Cole Smith last night to give them the insurance marker. 2-0 in the third period. Give them a little bit of breathing room. Fourth-line player. I mean, and you didn't get that same kind of production and impact and from the Colorado depth forwards. You just didn't in this series, and it was just top to bottom a better goaltending too. Carter Hart was better than the Wedgwood and Blackwood tandem. Although to Blackwood's credit, I didn't love the Mark Stone goal. I thought he was a little slow to react on the deke. Mark Stone's not exactly the best skater in the world. But after that, you can't blame Blackwood. He was really good. He gave Colorado a chance, kept it at 1-0 for a very long time. He ended up making a couple of really good saves on a couple of the Vegas power plays. But at the end of the day, it just ended up being a situation where, it didn't get much offensively from Marty Nate. Marty Nate just had a brutal series. Let's call it like we see it. He didn't produce at all. Brock Nelson just snake bit, ice cold. To Brock Nelson's credit, he at least got some pretty good chances. So it's hard to go, too strong on the criticism with Brock Nelson. But at the end of the day, it's not the scoring chances. You don't get paid by the scoring chance. You get paid by production. You get paid for goals. And he just didn't deliver them here for the Colorado Avalanche. He had a tough series. Lehkonen had a brutal series. He was very quiet. I can't fault, McKinnon's less than 100%. People are, I can't believe the amount of people that are throwing Nathan MacKinnon under the bus because he didn't score a goal in the series. And that's disappointing. Is he capable of better? Yes. but with the unimaginable pain the guy was playing in the last two games of this series, probably shouldn't have even been playing last night. Certainly he wouldn't be in the lineup if it was a regular season game. I think we can do better than, putting Nathan MacKinnon at the top of the list of problems for the Colorado Avalanche in that series. That's a little absurd in my mind. And I can't fault Gabe Landeskog either. I thought he had a pretty good series, the captain for the Colorado Avalanche. But at the end of the day, Marner, Eichel, Stone, Dorofeev, Brett Howden, you go on down the list. Tomas Hertl had a game-winning goal in Game 3. You just got way more production and impact from way more people, way more players on the Vegas side than you did the Colorado side. And that ended up being the difference. But what a job by John Tortorella. What is it, 19-4-1 now since he took over as the head coach? Just remarkable. Absolutely sensational what he's been able to do, obviously, considering the state and plight of the Vegas Golden Knights before the, at the end of the regular season, when it looked like the playoff hopes were flickering. Like they were this close to falling right out of the playoffs, right out of it. And what John Tortorella has done is just absolutely amazing. He was out of work March 28th. He was actually wondering when he was with ESPN if maybe he wouldn't look at another coaching opportunity. And here he is less than 2 months later, and he's in the Stanley Cup final for the second time as a head coach, the first time since he won it in 2004 with the Tampa Bay Lightning when they beat the Calgary Flames in that 7-game series. I remember it very well. Hobby Bulin was outstanding in net, the Bulin wall for the Lightning. A very young Marty St. Louis, of course, is now coaching the Habs, was on that Tampa Bay Cup championship team with Torts in 2004. Vinny LeCavalier was a pretty hard-working Tampa Bay team. It was also the last game, the last Stanley Cup final, the last broadcasts of the first time around when ESPN ABC had the rights to the NHL. They lost the rights after that Stanley Cup final. And I think it was the last series we had Gary Thorne and Bill Clement together, and the last NHL games that Gary Thorne did. And I miss Gary Thorne on the mic to this day. That was the very last series he did, Gary Thorne, on television, play-by-play for NHL, was Lightning Flames, 2004 Stanley Cup final. Last series before the lockout. Yep. Good call, Alex. Yep, it was. We had the lockout right after that. That's John Tortorella's last time in a Stanley Cup final. And here he is now going back. And he's 1-0 in the Stanley Cup final. He'll be looking to make it 2-0, obviously, this year. So congratulations to the Vegas Golden Knights. Look, this franchise, if you're a Golden Knights fan, you've been spoiled rotten. And a lot of people are begrudging Golden Knight fans of that. A lot of people are, pissed, angry, frustrated, lashing out at the Vegas fan because their teams had this great run, great season. Some of the things they've done to push the envelope as far as pushing the boundaries of the rules and how they can maneuver and operate within them. That's driven some people nuts. But at the end of the day, this is a organization that will stop at no cost to win. There's no doubt about that. They will definitely go all out to try to win every single year. They'll fire a coach to do it. They'll make a big trade to do it. And that's what you want. You want a team that wants to win and be a contender every year. And, Kelly McCrimmon and his management team have proven that. This is now the third Stanley Cup final in a decade span for the Vegas Golden Knights. So very impressive what the franchise continues to do. And like I said, they're winning. I'm not Vegas. I'll tell you what, Alex, they're not crying. Vegas fans, I'll tell you that. They're lapping up the tears of the other fans who are angry and upset about what the Vegas Golden Knights keep doing. So congratulations to them. Very worthy Western Conference champion. And they await the winner of the Eastern Conference final. And with that, we segue into Game 4 tonight, Eastern Conference final. Carolina Hurricanes, Montreal Canadiens. Carolina leading the series 2-1. This is a huge game in the series, huge swing game. It feels like this series is close to over if the Canes win tonight, and it feels like we're right back in this is anybody's series all over again if Montreal can win tonight and tie this series at 2. We've got Carolina minus 145 road favorites, 5.5 the total here in Game 4. As far as a side in this game, I'm staying away. It's a cop-out. I know. I'm at the point now where I don't want to go against Carolina. So lean Hurricanes, but minus 145 when Montreal's kind of in a back against the wall spot. Um, I'm not really rushing to lay a price like that in this game with Carolina, but Montreal finally lost 2 games in a row in the playoffs for the first time with the 3-2 overtime loss in Game 3. And yes, I know Montreal is going to take some kind of, and they were even talking about it. Yeah, we're one shot away, from winning each of the last 2 games that we lost in overtime. Yeah, but you're also getting fucking caved in most of these games, the last 2. We know what the shot disparity has been. We know it was 38-13 shots on goal in favor of Carolina in Game 3. They are having a hard time generating speed through the neutral zone. They're having a hard time sustaining time in the offensive zone. And another thing, too, that was a good point that the locals in Montreal made when I was listening to Jimmy Murphy was on the Habs post game because he's in Montreal right now. Hope he's doing well. He made a good point about the fact that Montreal is shooting the puck when they enter the offensive zone. Sometimes they're trying to. It's because Carolina closes the time and space so much. It's almost like get the puck off the stick as soon as possible. But the problem is it doesn't lead to anything of substance. It's almost like they are rushing, making a play in the offensive zone, making the right read, making a pass, taking a shot instead of passing. They are getting sped up because Carolina is always on them. And it just forces them to rush their decision making with the puck in the offensive zone. So that's an issue. I think Montreal's got to make Carolina work more. Carolina is an expert at making the opponent work to defend them in the offensive zone. Montreal's needs to do more of that. Put the fancy stuff aside. The quickly we got to rip the shot on goal when we get in the forecheck, cycle a bit more. I know that's not necessarily the way Montreal wants to play, but you cannot be outshot like this, 20-plus shots, because what it's doing, especially in a series we're coming in, you played 14 games compared to 8 games for the Carolina Hurricanes. You played the max, and they played the minimum as far as games played so far in the playoffs. You wear yourself out defending. You do. And you add on to the fact that Carolina is making you pay a physical price. Nobody more than Lane Hudson, who's been pulverized. He's beaten up and turned into raw hamburger meat with all the fucking hits and slashes and cross checks and elbows to the head and neck area, like the one that Will Carrier threw right before he turned that puck over in the neutral zone, which led to the overtime winner for Svechnikov in Game 3. You factor in that they're defending so much, which takes energy out of you physically and mentally, and the fact they're getting beaten up, and just the physical battle is being won by Carolina decisively here in the last 2 games. So that's another thing Montreal's got to try to do. Carolina is exacting a pound of flesh on you. You've got to start throwing your weight around a bit, saying, we just can't be the only ones taking a physical toll in this series. We got to make sure you take some as well. And certainly we'll see if that leads to maybe more of an increase as far as the physicality from the Montreal side is concerned. Dobish, has been, there's no complaints, obviously, about Dobish here in this series. I don't know what to make of Anderson's been steady, but it's funny that, the Matheson goal I didn't love. And from what I've seen, and again, it's hard to evaluate because other than game 1 was a bad game but it wasn't Anderson's fault. The defense was terrible. Carolina just had a rough game. I think the layoff played a part. You can't give up odd man rushes and breakaways like Carolina did in Game 1 and blame it all on the goaltender. You can't do that. That's not fair. But at the same point in time, I don't think he's been nearly as just sharp as he was against Ottawa and Philly. Not quite. He's still been solid, but I don't think he's been like, I thought you could make a case that Freddie Anderson was great in the first round and the second round. I don't think his goaltending has been great in this series so far. So it's up to Montreal, to force him to make some saves, test him, see how good he is. And unfortunately, they're not doing a good enough job of that because Carolina is just suppressing them at every turn. And that's probably going to have to change if Montreal is going to tie up the series and get back into it tonight. So I lean Carolina. I don't like the fact that this series to me seems to be trending to a place where Carolina is fresh because of the 2 sweeps. Montreal's played, 17 games now in these playoffs, played overtime games against Buffalo, overtime games against Tampa Bay, and it's adding up. They look like a team that's running on fumes right now. The gas tank's low. They're playing every other day. There's no such thing now as 2-3 days off. It's tough. And we saw it with Colorado a little bit. I'm not saying Montreal is going to just go quietly into the night like Colorado did. And Colorado didn't go quietly. The effort was there, but the mind was willing, but the flesh is weak syndrome is very real for Montreal. Just like we saw with Carolina the last 2 games of that series. That great quote, the mind is willing, but the flesh is weak. And I think the Montreal flesh is weak, and I worry that it's going to get even weaker as this series goes on tonight and as we move forward. So like I said, the full game is kind of more of a live betting thing for me. The bets that we love here tonight, the obvious ones, we're not going to look to fix something that isn't broken. And what we have talked about throughout this series is these first periods, specifically with Montreal. And there's no denying how strong it has been with many of these. And it's kept cashing for me here in game 1, game 2, game 3. We've talked about it a lot. And for Montreal, especially tonight, you've got to try to get on the board early. Now, it didn't work for them in game 2 or 3. They did get on the board in the first period, lost those games, but you still don't want to get behind Carolina. Just because you didn't win game 2 and game 3 when you scored in the first period doesn't mean you don't want to get on the board early. It doesn't mean you don't want to get the crowd into the game. So, like I said, Montreal has been just damn near automatic scoring a goal in the first period. 15 of their 17 playoff games, the Montreal Canadiens have scored a goal in the first period. So we are going to be on that once again tonight. Montreal first period goal. Now, this is Montreal first period goal. I cannot stress this enough. I want no part of Montreal first goal first period because Carolina has scored the first goal in the first period in all 3 games of this series. And in all 3 games of this series, we've seen Carolina score first, Montreal score second. So I'm going to dabble on that trend to continue tonight. Carolina, first goal, first period. And then if they get the first goal, we'll take Montreal rather, to get the second goal. So we'll get a little bit on that. We're going to come back to Montreal goal in the first period. I see it at minus 132 right now at FanDuel. So we're going to be on that. Again, 15 of 17 playoff games the Habs have scored in the first period, as well as all 3 games in this series the Montreal Canadiens have scored in the first period. And, of course, we're going to get back to over 1.5 first period. First period over. First period over, incredible 10-0. Perfect 10-0 streak in Montreal Canadiens playoff games for the first period over. All 7 Montreal-Buffalo games cashed the first period over, and all 3 of the games in this series have cashed the first period over. Again, that's a 10-0 first period over streak in Montreal Canadiens playoff games, dating back to obviously game 1 of the Buffalo series. So those are my 2 favorite bets. It's not even close tonight what my 2 favorite bets in this entire game are pregame. It's Montreal goal in the first period, and it's Montreal Carolina over 1.5, right around even money, minus 110 in the first period. Again, 10-0 streak for the first period over for Montreal playoff games. Montreal scored a first period goal 15 of the 17 playoff games. And to be honest with you, when Carolina first period goal is minus 164 for Carolina to score a first period goal, if that price drops to a playable range at some point during the first period, we get 7 or 8 scoreless minutes, I'm going to be betting Carolina a goal in the first period live when it's playable, looking for minus 120 or better with that. So that's what we're looking at here. Pre-game, Montreal goal in the first period, over 1.5 first period, and also both teams to score first period, which is cashed in every game in this series as well. You can get that at plus 190 at FanDuel. Those are the best bets right there. It's all the first period shit. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keeps on cashing. And so, we're going to keep rolling with it here. So, again, first period, Montreal to score first period, minus 132, over 1.5, around minus 110 first period. Again, that's a 10-0 run for that. For the Montreal goal in the first period, minus 132. It's 15 of the 17 playoff games they've scored a first period goal, and both teams to score first period, plus 190. Again, all 3 games have cashed the first period, both teams to score as well. Full game, I don't know. We've seen game 1 went over, but we've seen 2 games in a row where there was goals in the first period, and then it slowed right down after that. And the full game ended up staying under. So I can't say I love the over 5.5. That being said, Montreal's got to try everything they can to get this into a more open, back and forth, rush game type of game. They've got to try to open this thing up. And I think they're going to, but that doesn't mean it's automatically going to mean it's going to go over 5.5 just because Carolina's so damn good defensively and they can shut that down. That's that rush game that Montreal might try to turn this into. So, like I said, all the best bets in this game are the early stuff, the first period wagers. Montreal goal in the first period, minus 132. First period over 1.5, minus 110. And also both teams to score, plus 190 first period here in this one. As far as props for this game tonight, I think we're at the point now with Montreal. Do we even bother betting any of their players over shots? You better start betting some under shots on goal with some of these Montreal players. I mean, unless things are suddenly going to change here and suddenly we're going to see them get 20, 25, 30 shots in a game, I'm going to have to see it before I believe it. So if you're going to look at shots on goal, it's probably wise to just give you Carolina players right now based on what we're seeing. Andrei Svechnikov, he's actually gone over 2.5 shots in 4 of the last 5 playoff games. And 2 straight. We saw Taylor Hall go over 2.5 shots. Jackson Blake over 2.5 shots in the last game. Both of them went over 2.5 for the Carolina Hurricanes. As far as point streaks going in tonight, it's not too many on the Montreals. Jake Evans did get a point again, and I keep mentioning him because he's gotten a point now in 7 of the last 10 playoff games for Montreal. So, I know people are questioning, is he really a second-line center? No, but he's doing the best he can. And he actually is still, producing points in 3 of the last 5 and 7 of the last 10 playoff games for Jake Evans. So, like I said, definitely could see him obviously keeping that going. I like Jackson Blake. He got a point last game. That whole line, Hall, Svechnikov, Hall, Blake, and Stankoven, we've talked about them. They've been very good. I also think Andrei Svechnikov is someone that, we've been waiting for him to kind of get it churning, get the offense going a little bit. And I think we've seen a little bit of a sign of that with him lately. So as far as goal prop or point prop with him, he's also gotten points in 3 of the last 5 games. So you can start to see things starting to turn in a positive direction here for Andrei Svechnikov. Here the last few games for the Carolina Hurricanes. So keep that in mind. Jordan Martinook's a guy that when you look at Jordan Martinook for Carolina, last game, he did not have any shots on goal. That being said, you look at before that, he had 1, 3, 2, and 2 shots before that. We'll see if he can get back to, because he had been trending over 1.5 shots in the recent games until game 3. He might be worth a look there once again to get back on the over 1.5 shots involving him here tonight in this game. When you look at Montreal, who's got to step up offensively? Well, obviously Suzuki and Caulfield are at the top of the list. Slavkovsky too. Slavkovsky was a freight train early in the Tampa series, and to be honest, it's been pretty underwhelming from him since then for the most part. But that's something to keep in mind. What's very interesting is we do have some line blender action going on here for Montreal tonight in this game. It looks like we've got Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky still together, but I'm now seeing Alexander Texier, Philip Deneau, and Josh Anderson. And I'm telling you what, those 3 guys have been able to make an impact in this series. We know Josh Anderson got the 2 goals for Montreal in game 2 of this series in Carolina. So this feels like it could be a Josh Anderson night as far as looking towards him maybe to step up for the Hurricanes or for the Montreal Canadiens here in this one. Newhook, Evans, Ivan Demidov together. And then, of course, Bolduc, Joe Veleno and Kirby Dach, who's been very, very, very quiet so far for the Montreal Canadiens here in this series. And it is a birthday for Jakub Dobeš. He easily went over 27.5 saves in Game 3 of this series. I think it was kind of a bad beat that he didn't go over in Game 2 of this series. And certainly it was in Game 1. I remember that. But here tonight, I would look maybe toward Jakub Dobeš over saves. Again, even with Montreal being the team off the loss, even with Montreal being down 2-1 at home, where normally you would think that's the team that's going to carry the flow, control the flow, have the edge in shots on goal. I think it is difficult to think that that's going to be the case with what we've seen the last 2 games. Carolina probably is going to have a very good chance to control the flow again. So again, Jakub Dobeš over saves could be worth a look. Freddie Andersen's saves prop, by the way, I want to point this out. His saves prop is now 19.5 for this game tonight. I'm not saying don't bet under 19.5 saves for Freddie Andersen, but this is as low a saves prop as you'll ever see. There's clearly some padding. There's clearly some adjustment that has been made here with this number. It could still go under. Don't get me wrong. I mean, especially based on what we saw from Montreal as far as shot volume in Game 2 and Game 3. But like I said, 19.5 now is what we're looking. You do not see a saves prop that low very often. It's still under or pass, obviously. How can you trust? How can you have a ton of confidence, a ton of faith? Montreal is going to find a way to put 20-plus shots on goal. But at the same point in time, from a value standpoint, boy, oh boy. Like I said, I think some of the lowest saves props I've seen in the past are, 21.5, 22.5. I have not seen saves props very often go below 22.5. And here we are now at 19.5 with the saves prop for Frederik Andersen tonight. So, again, it's under or pass, but I'm just saying, be a little cautious. Whether that's because that's as low a number as you're going to see on a saves prop. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Appreciate you guys joining us. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And like I said, looking forward to Game 4 tonight, Eastern Conference Final. There is going to be, and by the way, we should point this out now that the West Final's over. Obviously, we will not have Ice Guys shows on days without a game taking place moving forward. So that means Thursday there won't be a show. Saturday there won't be a show because that would have been Colorado, Vegas, and obviously that series is over. Next Monday we won't have a show in all likelihood, but we will have one obviously Friday for Game 5 of this series. If necessary, we'll have a show Sunday for Game 6 of this Eastern Conference Final, and then we'll be on Tuesday. And Tuesday we'll be on and we'll either be talking Game 7, Eastern Conference Final, or probably teeing up the Stanley Cup Final on the Tuesday show. So keep that in mind. So Friday will be on for sure, 2 p.m. Eastern, Game 5. Let's say Carolina wins the next 2 games. The series ends in 5. That means we probably we won't have a show Sunday, and probably won't be on with you again until Tuesday, June 2nd. So, again, schedules are still up in the air depending on how long this series goes. But at the moment, that's kind of what we're looking at here as far as the schedule of Ice Guys shows here moving forward. But appreciate everyone tuning in. Check out wizardsportspicks.com. NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, CFL starting next week. I cannot wait for that. One of my specialties from a betting standpoint for well over a decade, the CFL. Looking forward to another strong, profitable season. Check it out. Again, great handicappers on the site. Number 1 in the NHL, profitable NBA season. Also, great YouTube content now with Wizard Sports Picks YouTube channel. So check it out, wizardsportspicks.com. And, of course, patreon.com/Ice Guys, $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting cards, sides totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. We are going to have more betcasts next week coming up for likely the Stanley Cup Final. I think there might be a betcast if this series goes to Game 7. We might do a betcast for our Patreon members that night, but we got a long way to go before we even think about a Game 7 in this Carolina-Montreal series. But $10 per month, get on board. And starting June 1st, next Monday, on all non-NHL game days, We will start posting a daily betting card for plays in all the other sports from me. If Alex has anything in boxing or UFC or any of the other sports, he'll post them as well. So that will begin next Monday, the summer off-season plan, if you will, where the Patreon members that stay members and subscribe through the off-season, you'll still get a daily betting card of plays and bets in the other sports throughout the summer months. So check it out, $10 per month. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long-term. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. And check out the Ice Guys store as well. Get your gear and your merch over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bet coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, bargain bin special of the night here for this Wednesday night, Game 4, Eastern Conference Final. Alex has posted his in the chat, and we will mention his first. It is Sebastian Aho for the Carolina Hurricanes to score the first goal of the game, plus 1,600, 16-1. Sebastian Aho, Carolina, first goal for Alex P. Smith for his bargain bin special of the night. As always, I am going to go with two bargain bin specials of the night for the game tonight. Let me just make sure I get the current prices up, make sure nothing's changed on me here, but I think we're good with both of the ones I've chosen here tonight. My first bargain bin special of the night here for this game tonight, I am going to rock with, as far as a bargain bin special for Carolina here in this game, a player that I think, you look at it, he's clearly someone that's been able to score some big goals at times for this team in the playoffs, including on the road. And I feel like tonight could be the night for him. I mentioned him earlier. He didn't have a shot on goal last game, but he had 2-3 the games before that. For me, it's a Jordan Martinook night. Jordan Martinook for Carolina, plus 700. Pretty good price. We'll go with him. Jordan Martinook, Carolina, plus 700 for my Hurricanes bargain bin special of the night. My Montreal bargain bin special of the night here tonight. I'm going to try once again with Ivan Demidov tonight. Plus 350 at DraftKings. Looks like the best price out there with him. He's one of the most talented, skilled players on this team. He's the kind of player that could make something happen when space is tight. Room is not being given, no quarter given by Carolina, not much time and space out there. So I will go with Ivan Demidov at plus 350 for the Montreal Canadiens. Jordan Martinook for Carolina, plus 700 for my two bargain bin specials of the night. All right, best bets. It's the same best bet for Alex and I. We're on the same best bet because I think it's easily the best bet. When you're talking about a 10-0 streak with a particular bet, it's best bet material. Simple as that. 10-0, first period over streak for the Montreal Canadiens here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. 3-0 first period overs in this series alone. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Montreal looking to make it 11 straight playoff games where the first period over is cashed, and we're rocking with that. It's Alex's best bet. It's my best bet as well. Carolina, Montreal, over 1.5, plus 100, first period for my best bet. Shout out to everyone in the chat for our best bet, Alex and I, for this Game 4 Eastern Conference Final. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live it's not 7 days a week at this stage of the season, but you get my point. 2 p.m. Eastern weekdays, noon Eastern weekends. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Final, and we will be back with you Friday. Note the day. Our next show will be Friday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern. We'll be back with you for another edition of the Ice Guys.